Alright, what is going on? What's happening? How's everyone doing today? My name is Chuck and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be jumping into some more top meta loadouts. They just came out with a brand new patch update here as of yesterday, is the time of making this video. And so we've gone through and I've tested a bunch of different things out and used some different loadouts in game. And I'm here to give you guys the best possible guns to use after that update because they did touch quite a few different weapons. Before any farther, if you guys could do me a favor and drop like the next 5 seconds for some good luck and hit that subscribe button as well. With all notifications turned on, I'm on the road to 800,000 subscribers, so it'd be amazing if you join the squad. Okay, so the first gun we're going to be getting into here is actually going to be the Bullfrog. And the reason we're using the Bullfrog is it really wasn't in the meta here a lot of as of recent, because we had, the Mac 10, the OTS 9, we had, just a whole bunch of different stuff we can use, and the Bullfrog kind of got a little bit more so outclassed. But with this more recent update, the Bullfrog has been significantly better and more viable to use, and I've really enjoyed using it again here. So let's actually jump into an amazing build for us. So first thing on that muzzle is going to be the Groove Suppressor. This is going to help us out with that sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, of course, that effective damage range. Beforehand I've used the sound suppressor, but I've since kind of gone back to the Groove Suppressor, as I feel like this is going to be a better option overall, and I feel like you still get great movement speed, great ADS even with this on, as opposed to the sound suppressor. So that's gonna be our first attachment. Next up in that barrel section is going to be the 7.4 task force, but effective damage range, bullet velocity, and of course that strafe speed. This is by far the best barrel you guys could possibly use on the Bullfrog. There's no real reason to use something else like the VDV reinforced Liberator rifle. It doesn't really matter. You always should be using the task force barrel on your Bullfrog. So that's just gonna be the the best barrel you guys could possibly use. Next up in that laser section though, we're gonna go throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight for the increased movement speed and aim walking movement speed. I personally love the Tiger Team on this thing, and mobility is king. When it comes to Cold War SMGs, we're trying to maintain the maximum amount of mobility possible, and that's what this is going to allow us to do. It's going to give us more mobility, which is ultimately going to be better for us in those close quarter situations. So we're going to throw that on there. Now we're going to go into the underbarrel section. What we're going to do here is we're going to throw on the Bruiser Grip, which is going to help with our movement speed and our hip fire accuracy. I absolutely love the Bruiser Grip, and I think this is definitely a really solid option. When you combine that with the Tiger Team, you're going to get some crazy movement speed and mobility, and I absolutely love that thing. And then to finish off this whole build here, we're going to go into the stock section, and we're actually going to throw on the no stock attachment. I was using this earlier and I was frying with it using the no stock, so this is going to give us a crazy sprint to fire time, which is ultimately going to be super awesome for those close quarter situations. You're going to be able to bring up your gun incredibly fast, and that is awesome. So this is a pretty awesome Bullfrog build here. Hopefully you guys do enjoy this one. Go ahead and give it a shot. Tell me what you guys think about it in the comment section below. I was having a lot of fun using it, and it is definitely back in meta. Now this is an interesting one here. So we're going to be taking a look at the CR56 AMAX. Because they've been nerfing so many different guns here in Warzone, the AMAX has pretty much gone untouched for a long time, and it's kind of falling more and more back into the meta as all the other stuff does get nerfed more and more into the ground. Recoil gets increased, damage values get decreased. Like, the AMAX has just been kind of left there, and now it's going to start making its popularity and resurgence because it's just still really good, and not that many people use it right now, but more people are definitely going to start using it. So let's give you guys a good build here for it. So for that muzzle, we're going to throw on the mono. Obviously this is what you want to run for all of your modern warfare weapons. It doesn't really matter if it's an AR, it's an SMG, an LMG. You always should just be running the monolithic suppressor on your gun. So that's going to be our first attachment here. Next up in that barrel section, we're going to use the longest barrel, which is the XRK Zodiac S440. Damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. There's no reason for you guys to ever use something like the FSS Squall or the Intruder unless you're trying to make this into an SMG, which I don't necessarily recommend. I've done that for a video. I've tried it out. It's not the most viable thing. There's a lot of other better stuff you guys could use at close range. So I just wouldn't really recommend that. I'll just go with the XRK Zodiac barrel and definitely call it a day at that. Next up in the underbarrel section, we have to use the Commando foregrip. This is going to give us that recoil stabilization and aiming stability. It's not going to slow us down too much, but what it's going to do is help us with that recoil control ever so slightly, and I think it is perfect. It doesn't matter if you're on PC, if you're on console. I just think this is going to be the best possible option. I mean, I've seen people try to run the Merc foregrip or the Ranger foregrip, but to be honest with you, it just slows you down a little bit too much even with your ADS, and we're definitely not trying to do that here, so that Commando is going to be the way to go. Next up in that magazine section, I mean, we pretty much have one option here, which is going to be the 45 round mag. So we're going to be choosing the 45. I mean, it's just kind of unacceptable to run a 30 round magazine on this gun. It just doesn't make sense because that's the base. So this is like our only option. So we're definitely going to go ahead and run it. And then to cap off this whole build here, we're going into that optic section, and we're going to go throw on the VLK 3x optic. You guys can run whatever reticle you happen to want with this thing. I just use the base one as I think that is definitely good. And I also haven't done the challenges for the T-pose reticle yet. Just because I'm a little bit lazy like that. And I think this is a classic build here for the AMAX, and it's definitely going to be used a lot more. I was using it today in combination with the Bullfrog. Hey, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's a very good combination to use. So definitely going to give this a shot. It's really solid right now. Now let's actually jump into the Cold War AK-47. We're going to be building this as a primary AR. They've been messing around with this gun here a little bit, and they actually didn't nerf it. They gave it some recoil adjustments, which actually makes it a lot more viable. And that's what a lot of people are gravitating towards right now to use instead of like the Krig 6 or the FAR 83 or really anything else. So we're going to be getting you guys a pretty awesome build here for this gun. So first thing on this is going to be that groove suppressor. Obviously, this is going to be a primary AR, not necessarily a secondary. People ran this as like a sniper support with as more or less a hybrid AR SMG. We're trying to make this a true AR, so we're going to throw that groove suppressor on there. You guys kind of already know what it does. I don't have to explain it too much here. Next up in that barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to throw on the Spetsnaz RPK barrel. This is going to help us out with our bullet velocity, horizontal recoil control, effective damage range, and vertical recoil control. This has got the most amount of pros, of course, but the most amount of cons. This is not going to make you the most agile, but that's entirely okay because it is a primary AR, which is supposed to be designated for better at those medium to longer ranges, not necessarily close range. That's why you got an SMG or a shotgun or something, whatever it may be on your overkill loadout for those closer quarter situations. So we're going to throw this on here. Next up in the underbarrel section, we're going to go throw on the Spetsnaz grip here for the horizontal and vertical. This is going to really help us out here in stabilizing this weapon. I do believe this is incredibly beneficial, and you guys should always be running the Spetsnaz no matter what, unless for whatever reason they tune the recoil even more to the point where you don't need a foregrip, which would definitely be awesome. Then you could definitely free it up and throw on something else, but for right now, the Spetsnaz is going to be what you're going to be using. Now in the magazine section, I'm going to go actually with the 45 round magazine. The reason I'm going to 45 as opposed to the Bakelite 60, which I'm normally speaking a 60 round mag kind of guy, I just don't believe that the 60 offers enough benefits. It kind of feels like it makes the weapon a little bit too slow, and the AK doesn't have a crazy high fire rate like something like the M13 does, for instance. So the 45 just works out really nicely. Still gives you a little bit more mobility, which is awesome, and it doesn't slow down your ADS, which is definitely a huge benefit. So you guys are able to take out quite a few people here at that 45. I kind of like running the 45 on this and also the XM4, so definitely go and give this a shot. And then to finish off this build here, of course, going to that optic section, and we're going to run that beautiful Axle Arms 3x scope on here. The base reticle for this thing is fantastic. I have some people ask me if I want to use a different reticle for this thing, like maybe the precision one or anything like that, or a green dot. You guys can definitely do that, but personally, I just run the base one, or maybe that new green dot that you got in a pack. I can't remember which one it is, but overall, the axle arms on this thing and this whole build here is going to be awesome. This is definitely a new primary AR of choice. You guys should definitely give it a shot. Because a lot of other stuff right now, like the Krig, you know, the FAR, everything else like that is definitely been nerfed. Okay, so next up for this build here, we're going to be taking a look at a gun that I really enjoy using even before the update, but it's definitely become, you know, pretty viable even afterwards because the OTS-9 got a bit of a nerf, and that's going to be the PPSH. So let's actually jump into a new and improved build here that's going to be a little bit easier to control for maybe some different people out there. So first thing on here, of course, is going to be that groove suppressor, sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. This is going to be pretty much a must on this thing. I think the PPSH has some interesting recoil, so we're trying to manage that or mitigate that as much as possible. So we're going to go and throw that on there. Next up in the barrel section, we're going to throw on the 15.7 task force for that effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. Once again, like, you know, for the Bullfrog, this is going to be the best barrel, and I don't really recommend using anything else. And I also, I just really like the way it looks on the loud pipe variant, which came in a previous battle pass. So if you guys don't have this one, unfortunately you can't get it. It is in a battle pass. So we're going to go ahead and throw this thing on here. And next up, we're going to go into the underbarrel section. And that's not something I would normally have done previously, but I kind of want to help you guys out here with some of that recoil control because some people are really not enjoying the recoil on, you know, the other build. So we're going to go and throw on the Spetsnaz grip here for that vertical and horizontal recoil control. This is going to make this gun significantly easier to be able to control when you're, you know, laying down a bunch of ammo, laying in a bunch of rounds down range. I really like this thing, and I don't need a foregrip on it, but for a lot of people out there, maybe they want to switch something out as opposed to maybe they don't want to run the Tiger Team Spotlight, they want to run, you know, maybe this instead. So we're going to go throw on the Spetsnaz grip here, and that's going to be kind of in place of our previous Tiger Team Spotlight attachment. And then next up, we're going to go into the magazine section, and we're going to throw on the 55 round drum. You don't really need anything more. I mean, listen, that 71 round drum magazine is pretty cool. It was cool when we had it in like ground loot or something like that. Unfortunately, now everything's like a 24 round magazine. So it just kind of sucks for, you know, ground loot. I hate it right now. But I mean, listen, you don't need anything more than 55 when it comes to building a PPSH. it just is going to slow you down too much if you use something else. So we're going to go and throw this on here. And then to cap off this whole build, we're going to go into the stock section and we're going to add on the Raider stock. This is going to give us that increased ADS fire movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. It's going to give us some mobility, which we would have been otherwise lacking if we didn't throw on a mobility attachment, because we are not using the Tiger team. We're using a foregrip. It's going to make this gun easier to control, but you're going to have a tad bit less mobility. It's kind of one of those trade-offs you have to be able to have. So this is going to be a pretty awesome build here. Hope you guys do enjoy this one. Definitely give it a shot. Like I said, you can always swap out that foregrip for a Tiger team, and it's going to be awesome as well. And to finish off this top 5, why not give you guys a pretty awesome MAC-10 build? This gun really didn't get touched here within any of the recent updates for whatever reason. They feel like the MAC-10 is just kind of like okay in its spot, even though I think it's probably a top tier SMG out there and kind of has been for a while. Let's actually jump into a build for this. On the muzzle category, obviously the agency suppressor, that is the equivalent to the groove suppressor. So we're going to throw this on here, and that is going to be, you know, our best attachment, you know, for this category. So I'd recommend running the agency for this thing. Next up in that barrel section, we're going to throw on the 5.9 Task Force. Like for any of the other SMGs, the Task Force barrel is pretty much just going to be the best one out there. Effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. Overall, absolutely love the Task Force barrel on this gun. I think it is super awesome, and I would not recommend running anything else. After that, we're going to jump into the laser section, throw on that Tiger Team Spotlight. This is what I would have recommended for the PPSH, but like I said, some people are talking about the recoil, and I want to be able to make sure they're taken care of. But for this thing, you really don't have any recoil kind of regardless, and even if you do happen to have a little bit, it's pretty manageable. So that Tiger Team is going to be pretty much my choice for this thing. I really like the Tiger Team. Or you could swap this out for like a bruiser grip if you really don't want to have a flashlight on your gun. It's just kind of one of those things you could definitely do, but it's not going to make that big of a difference. After that, we're going to go into the magazine section, and we're going to throw on the 53 round drum. Who doesn't love a 53 round drum on this thing? There's no real reason to run a 53 round fast mag. I haven't found it to be beneficial yet. I've just always run the 53, and I don't really find any issues with the reload speed or anything else like that. So I just recommend to run that on this gun and pretty much call it a day. And then for our last attachment, we're going to go through on that Raider stock for that increased ADS fire movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. This is a banger MAC-10 build, an absolute classic. And also this variant, by the way, comes with like some really good attachments. So if you guys happen to go for this variant and also the other one that comes with it, it comes with a pretty cool character, and like the attachments on things on the C58 and this are definitely really solid. So you guys should be pretty taken care of with that. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed today's video, go and give it a like, hit that subscribe button with all notifications turned on, and just remember to cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.